Hi, I'm Elena Mesa.
Sandy Johnson.
Sandy, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
Yeah, I was really excited to talk to Bobby at the G-Day game. We had a lot to talk about DOG and what Salesforce might have to offer, and I think we might be looking at some great offerings. So
Sounds good.
I'm going to give you my business card before we
Perfect.
get started. If you have any questions after the end of this meeting, feel free to call me, email me, whatever is most convenient. I just want to make sure we still have 20 minutes for this meeting.
Yeah, you got it. 20 minutes.
Okay. So I'm going to ask a lot of questions. I hope that's all right.
Ask away. I've probably got a lot too.
Number one, is anyone else sitting in on this meeting?
Nope, just me today, and whatever information I get, I'll be happy to pass along.
Okay, great. So I made a little agenda just so that we stay on track. I know your time's really valuable. So hopefully we could start off by just learning about what your company is looking for in your new CRM system. And then kind of talking about what some of your biggest issues are with your current system, just so I can kind of figure out what background's going on here. And then evaluate whether or not Salesforce can even offer some remedies to those issues.
Yeah.
And then if things go well, potentially look at moving forward an agreement that both of us can benefit from.
Sounds good to me. Let's get started.
All right. So starting off, we want to figure out what the company is looking for in your new system. So when I talked to Bobby, he told me that he's looking for an all-inclusive system, one that helps him better forecast and kind of reflect on previous sales reports from each branch, as well as manage or improve how he manages each of those territories to make sure that those resources are allocated efficiently. Does that seem correct?
Yeah, the inclusive Salesforce management system, forecasting sales and recording, all that, very key, and it's definitely what we want to improve on.
Okay, great. And then how soon are you guys looking to implement the system?
So ideally we're thinking, 30 to 60 business days. So I'm hoping, late June, early July.
Okay, perfect. Cool. Not a problem. Okay, so, all right, let's talk about this current system that you guys have going on for forecasting, tracking, reporting sales. How does Bobby currently manage sales from each of your teams?
Yeah, so typically our sales managers will report to Bobby on a quarterly basis with their reports from the previous quarter and also their projections for the following quarter. Bobby does the analysis on his own, and he makes corrections where needed. And he also uses that time then to give guidance and to give the coaching to the salespeople.
Okay, so he is reflecting on the quarters after the fact, kind of digesting that information, analyzing it on his own. Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk about real-time reporting. Is there any way for him to kind of track sales, reflect on sales, before they're completed, if they're in the process, or even just throughout the quarter?
Yeah, so the sales manager can extract data at any time,
Okay, so that's
but there's nothing in real time.
Okay, all right. So on the note of kind of compiling data, so is there a way for him to compile data from one branch or maybe from multiple branches to kind of compare and contrast, reflect on those numbers? So
currently, no. The reports the sales manager send would be for individual salespeople, unless Bobby specifies otherwise. The responsibility falls on Bobby then to organize and generate those reports on his own time.
Okay, so he's spending time to make those.
It's all Bobby.
So if he wanted to compare and contrast, that's his responsibility.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about your future goals here for DOG. So one thing that I have been thinking about is this growth that you guys have realized so far. It's really exciting, 3.5% growth in your revenue this year. That's great. I would assume that you guys want to continue that trend. What are your goals moving forward for your growth?
So like you said, we were very excited about 3.5%. That was huge for us. And as we continue to grow in the future, this year we're anticipating a 4% increase, but always wanted to grow more and more.
Right. Okay. So looking at 4%.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. All right, so let's think about, again, I want to come back to kind of Bobby's management during the quarter.
Yeah.
So do you think that his, inability to see these real-time sales reports or inability to see this forecasting as it's happening, does that impact his ability to manage those branches? Does it impact his ability to kind of give his insight as a manager as those processes are happening?
I'd have to say yes. I think there is a disconnect between what's happening during the quarter and how we're able to reflect. And I think this disconnection would prevent us from making changes soon enough to actually implement in the next quarter.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think, if Bobby could have more hands-on involvement, if he did have that information accessible and was able to kind of act on it, he could manage the team in a more immediate way?
Definitely. I think without that disconnection, he'd have the ability to have some influence over the branch, have more accurate reports in the moment. He might be able to give more corrections and better guidance to the teams, and with this better coaching, better results.
Okay, so we want to be managing in real time.
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, so back to the analysis. So he's kind of reflecting on the quarter, compiling all that data. Do you think that if he was spending less time compiling that data and spent more time managing the branches, I mean, do you think that could correlate to more growth for DOG?
I think it could definitely impact our sales. Extra time allows us to be more efficient.
Right.
If we're able to manage our increase in sales correctly, it could lead to an increase in revenue and, save some extra time for Bobby, which would be awesome.
Which would be great, yeah. Okay, cool. So just to recap, we want to see Bobby allocating his time more efficiently, not, doing busy work analyzing this data where he could be giving input, giving guidance, which is what he's supposed to do as a manager.
Yeah.
And so hopefully that would kind of accomplish the continued growth. Okay, so another issue that Bobby and I talked about that I want to touch on is managing these territories effectively to kind of sustain the growth that you've seen so far.
Yeah.
So, as DOG continues to grow, it's important to kind of manage that growth so you guys don't plateau. And of course, with the growth that you guys have seen so far, there are some implications that you want to think about. For example, like I said, allocating your salespeople to the right territories, making sure they're with the right clients. And then another thing that, we see with growth is maintaining communication within the company, focusing on collaboration. So do you feel like your current CRM system gives you much feedback about how you guys allocate your resources? Is there in what kind of feedback are you getting?
So right now, our current CRM system, the most limiting feedback we get is just our sales levels. It's difficult to see anything deeper than who is making what sale and when, and which territories. But so it's basic numbers. There's lack of detail, and all that analysis is on the end of it.
Okay, so basically your sales are the feedback.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, feedback on your resources here. Is there a mechanism in place that allows you to kind of evaluate your salespeople's strengths and weaknesses?
Not necessarily. Our sales managers also report quarterly on their teams, but that's the extent of it. We get the individual sales and the sales team numbers. So in the end, no.
Okay, so there isn't much analysis of the individual strengths and weaknesses, just what sales they're making and what sales they're not
very
making.
Basic numbers.
Okay, all right. So another important thing to keep in mind when you're trying to manage growth is maintaining that communication. So just to get a kind of a different perspective, I went and talked to a salesperson from your Duluth branch. And he mentioned that there might be a little bit of a disconnect when it comes to a situation where maybe there's an issue that he needs some outside feedback on, whether that's from other branches or from upper management. Do you think you can elaborate a little bit on that?
I think he might be referring to the time it takes to get everyone up to speed on our issues and everything at hand. Sometimes it's difficult for upper management or members of another branch to access the same client information and get background on the issues at hand. Okay,
so just kind of getting people up to speed on whatever the issue is. Okay. All right, so if they, if they had that info, maybe they were more up to date, they might be able to kind of add their insight sooner.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would kind of help the disconnect. So what are some other ways you think that Duluth could benefit from more access to client information, just having everyone be on the same page?
Well, since we are a service-based industry, our client is the most important thing to our company. It's important for us to have really great customer relationships and to distinguish us from our competitors. So maybe that access to client information would help us to maintain those relationships better and, access to information basically give us stronger relationships, I think.
Yeah, okay. Just so focusing on the client even as you guys grow. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about collaboration too. So do you think having access to that information, having everyone be on the same page like we talked about, could potentially facilitate collaboration between upper management and some of your branches?
I think it could definitely save upper management some time getting caught up on particular situations where the branch managers need input. If they spent less time trying to, understand the situation and more time giving their valuable input and coaching and, facilitating that collaboration, I think that'd be way more beneficial.
Okay, great. Yeah, I agree. All right, so as a recap, we'd like to have a single point of client information, so everyone can be on the same page with the client, with the sale. Additionally, just having more ways or more effective modes of communication that are maybe a little bit faster, maybe that would, kind of help facilitate collaboration.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about a few issues. I would love to do a demo really quickly.
Love to see it.
Just so we can kind of talk about the few things that Salesforce could offer to kind of help remedy the things that we've talked about so far.
For sure.
So before we look, I just want to recap, make sure I, have all of these issues here, in mind. So we're looking for, like I said, all-inclusive CRM system. Let's see, we want to be able to forecast and report sales clearly in real time. We're also looking for a way to manage your territories. facilitate the flow of communication. Right. So, and communication and collaboration from those upper management and lower branches. Okay. All right. So, if you pull up your dashboard, here's what we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And before we do anything, I just want to say everything on this dashboard is completely customizable. So, we want this to be as seamless for you guys to adopt as possible. So, we're going to make sure that we integrate it to your company, not the other way around.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So, if we're focusing just on one of those issues. So we want to talk about Bobby's inability to track sales in real time. So that's going to be really easily remedied with Salesforce. If you open your app launcher and go to sales content, you're going to have access to sales trends. You're going to have access to leads, what your team has done today, even where your salespeople are in each step of sales, which is going to be huge. What's cool about this is that it is real time. You know, you're reflecting on trends, you're looking at your past quarter. If you're looking at leads, that's you kind of looking into the future, and then what your team has done today is present. Mm-hmm. So you're having access to real time information. So do you think, having access to this info would positively impact Bobby's ability to kind of manage in real time, especially during the quarter?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's allowed us to be more efficient with our time. Saving time and reporting and collecting data, I think that would all happen a lot easier. More real-time guidance towards the team from our managers, I think that would be very key. And, with this, we get a better representation of the team's current progress, which is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's see. Another issue we talked about was being able to gauge a salesperson's strengths and weaknesses to make sure that we are putting them in the right territory with the right clients, in the right team. So that's another thing we can kind of look at here. So if you go back to that app launcher and then go to individual stats. So this is going to show you individual statistics for each of your sales member. It's going to give you, or salesperson, it's going to give you a better idea of which salesperson is better at, which process of sales, information like that. So do you think being able to have the right, or assign the right skill set to the right territories, might help effectively allocate your resources?
Yeah, so I mentioned, we're striving for that 4% increase, and I think this would definitely help us with, maintaining those levels of growth. Mm-hmm. And the feedback of areas of improvement, we could totally see that, and I think that would help us reach that at 4% again. Yeah. And being able to fully utilize the salespeople's strengths, and with that, being able to develop effective teams.
Yeah, good point. Okay, so last thing. I know that we wanted to talk about giving management the same access to client information that your salespeople have. So Salesforce is great about communication. So if we look at the Salesforce chatter, this is a great opportunity for cross-departmental communication. It's an area where teams can be collaborative. They can share ideas. What's great about it is it's available on mobile. It's available to your upper management. It's available to your individual branches. It's available to your maintenance teams. So it's a great way, for example, if someone was out in the field on a sales call, they needed information about a client they didn't have handy, they can reach out through Salesforce chatter and have that information provided. Another great tool is the single point of customer information. So anyone in upper management, like you said, if there was an issue going on that a salesperson needed some upper management advice on, upper management could search this client and immediately see all of their purchase orders, trends, who's worked with them, where they are in their sales process before they even touch base with the salesperson. So they're already up to date, they're already up to speed with all of the information that they need on that customer, which is great. Yeah. So, just seeing this, do you think that these tools could kind of help facilitate that communication?
Yeah, I think that real-time factor you're talking about would allow us to collaborate constantly, and I think that would be very beneficial, saving upper management time, getting up to speed. I think that would also allow for more creativity and real-time sharing of ideas that have worked for them, and that's super important for
sharing ideas across branches. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so here is our demo. That's our demo. I want to talk a little bit about pricing really quickly. All right, so before we talk about price, let's talk about the benefits you're going to see with Salesforce, or hope to see. So if you could kind of estimate the increase in growth that you would see if you didn't have to deal with all of the issues that we talked about today. So if Bobby could spend more time managing the branches during the quarter, if upper management had more access to client information, if you saw more collaboration amongst your branches, where do you see growth going in the next couple of years?
Yeah, so initially our goal was a 4% increase, but I think with all of this, you've really hit on all of our major areas of improvement. I think we could even potentially reach a 4.5% increase.
4.5?
Yeah.
Okay. So, if we took the revenue that you earned this year, that $48.6 million, and apply that rate of growth, so multiply it by 1.045, you're looking at $50.78 million. So that's already an increase of $2.18 million over what you've earned this year.
Impressive.
Which is great. And then if we're looking at the cost of Salesforce, so we're talking about, we have an $18,000 setup fee.
Yep.
That includes training. Okay. We're also going to have $85 per user per month. So for your 126 employees, it's going to be $10,710.
Okay.
And so 1 year of Salesforce, you're looking at $146,520. So that is, well covered in the increase in revenue that you would be earning, and you'd be looking at a return on investment of almost $2,000. So
definitely impressive.
Yeah. So it's easy to kind of quantify the changes that you'd be making and hopefully the benefits that you'd see.
Yeah.
So I've kind of given my spiel. Do you have any questions for me?
Not so much questions. I really think you hit on every aspect that I was interested in hearing about.
Yeah.
After hearing all this, I'm excited to share it with my colleagues and, the brand managers, and I'll pass on this information, and I'm looking forward to maybe setting up a potential follow-up meeting.
Yeah, let's set up a follow-up. Does the same time next week work?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Okay, great. So just remember, if you have any questions, you can reach out by phone or email.
Of course.
I'll be in touch.
All right, well, it's really great talking to you, Elena.
To you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
You too.